Years has passed since the first Ford Mustang entered the corral, creating the iconic pony car segment. While a lot has changed since then, the Mustang really hasn't changed that much at all. But as Ford launches the all-new 2015 6th generation Mustang, it does so with some of the biggest changes ever. So saddle up as the legend of Mustang continues anew. The 2015 Ford Mustang is arriving at just the right time. Car sales are back up to pre-recession levels, and the original pony car has been facing some of the toughest competition ever from the relaunched Chevrolet Camaro and Dodge Challenger. Powering this mission are 3 engines, each with more than 300 horsepower. The 5-liter V8 is back, of course, now with more muscle, 435 horsepower, thanks to tweaked cylinder heads and intake. The 3.7-liter V6 also returns with its intake redesigned due to a lower hood, resulting in a loss of horsepower, now at 300 even. Between the two at 310 horsepower is a new 2.3-liter EcoBoost Turbo i4 with 320 pound-feet of torque. It's not the first Turbo 4 under a Mustang hood. That would be the SVO of 84 to 86, but it is the first Ford to use a twin scroll unit. Transmissions hang with tradition, a 6-speed manual or 6-speed automatic for all engines. Styling, always a Mustang fan hot button, is less altered than originally feared. Retro reinvented, the Mustang 6.0 is lower, wider, and even with a familiar long hood profile, far more aggressive. Wheelbase stays at 107.1 inches, and overall length is shortened by 0.2 of an inch. The blunt nose and hallmark grille opening are tweaked to fit the rest of the Ford brand. There's new HID headlights and a fresh take on LED signature lighting. There's clearly more of a fastback shape towards the back end, and the new rear fascia is Euro diffuser in design. The glossy taillight panel features updated horses for 4 and 6 cylinders and a GT badge for V8s. The 3-bar taillights return, but look more three-dimensional. Turn signals are still sequential. 17-inch wheels are standard. GTs get 18s. 19s are optional on any. Brembo brakes come with the GT or EcoBoost performance packages. A classic appearance continues inside too with the dual hump dash. But gauges, the center stack, and electronic aids are much more in the now. You'll also find better materials, more knee space thanks to a slimmer lower dash, a passenger side knee airbag, and there's even more room in the glove box. Toggle switches and a smart button have been brought into the mix, and cup holders have been shifted over, providing freer access to the shifter. Even base models get keyless entry and a backup camera. Selectable drive modes are new, adjusting steering effort, engine and transmission response, as well as stability control intervention for normal, snow, wet, sport, and track conditions. And of course, there are track apps accessible through the gauge panel information screen, as is launch control. The steering wheel is smaller in diameter, but gets lots of new switchgear added to it. The trunk opening is larger, and the amount of space behind it has grown a tiny bit, now at 13.5 cubic feet. Nostalgia aside, we found the new Gen Stang is now much more about driving, with the much anticipated independent rear suspension now standard on all models. You don't really notice it in sedate daily driving, however, but dive deep into a corner, start feeding in some power, and the car hunkers down, propelling you out like never before. Such a big change out back forced Ford to extensively rework the front suspension as well. That's a win-win too. As for how the Mustang feels with 4-cylinder power, it feels just fine. There's good response, great mid-range torque, and even some respectable sound, though not at full song. Nothing sounds like a V8, of course, and the GT is still where it's at if you're looking for Mustang bragging rights. Manual 0 to 60 nudges 4.5 seconds. Drag racers or the Burnout Challenge will also be happy to hear that all GTs come standard with a line lock. Mustang base prices are up slightly, $24,425 for the V6, and that's still less than a base Camaro or Challenger. The EcoBoost i4 is just above that at $25,995, while V8 GT start at $32,925. We think the 2015 Ford Mustang, while a little less nostalgic, is much farther reaching, even without its international sales intentions. It is clearly a much better sporty coupe than ever before, and not just in the margins. And that progression will ensure that the Mustang legend will not only live on, but continue to lead.